Hi, welcome to Studio 14. I'm Ginny Sawyer with the City of Fort Collins, and joining me today is Marty Heffernan, Director of Community Services, and Craig Foreman, Director of Parks and Park Planning.
Park Planning and Development.
Park Planning and Development. I was so close. We're here today to talk about parks, though, and in particular our newest, soon-to-be newest, community park. So before we get to the specifics, Marty, can you kind of run down community park versus neighborhood park? We have a lot of parks in Fort Collins. We're really fortunate. And how do we decide where they go?
So the way that works, Ginny, is we have a fee that's on new residential construction. So if a new house or apartment is built, there's a fee associated with that pays for a community park and for a neighborhood park. On the community park level, a typical house would pay about $1,500, and neighborhood parks are in that range too. But it's just a one-time fee, and the benefit that they get from that is to have a neighborhood park that serves a 1 square mile area that they would be in that service area. And for the community park, it serves a 4 square mile area. So that provides enough money for us to provide those new houses with a nice neighborhood park that's usually about 6 to 10 acres, and then a nice community park which has, you know, a different set of amenities and features in it. That's usually between 50 and 100 acres. And so
an example of a neighborhood park.
Oh, English Ranch would be one, or Cottonwood Glen over by Spring Canyon Community Park. Sometimes they're close to each other. We just built Radiant Park, which is near this new park that we're going to be talking about, the Southeast Park over by the Fossil Ridge High School.
Rogers Park?
Rogers Park,
okay.
Yeah. Whereas this community park would be like our first community park was City Park. Our most recent one was Spring Canyon Community Park at the west end of Horsetooth Road. We have Fossil Creek Community Park over at LeMay, south of Harmony, just north of Trilby.
So the community parks are bigger, way more amenities, a lot going on. Neighborhood parks, we try to make sure that everyone's within a walking or biking distance, potentially, of those.
Yeah, so for the neighborhood park, usually you have a ball field, soccer field, not all the time, but frequently. So you can have those local games, drop-in stuff, playground, restrooms, walking paths, a variety of different features. And depending on what the neighbors want, I mean, Craig and his staff do a really good job of checking in with the neighborhood, checking in with the community, trying to build a park that's going to be unique and is really going to serve the area that it's located in.
So Craig, what, on a big level, what goes into planning a community park? Where does it start?
It really starts when we purchase the land. So we come off of our Parks Recreation Policy Plan, gives us direction of where these parks are going to be at, just in general. And so in this case of the Southeast Community Park, we acquired land in 1993 along with the school district when they bought the land for Fossil Ridge High School.
Wow, so we're thinking way out.
Yep, trying to get there when the land's cheap and
good.
No one's in the way of us. And so then we just wait for the neighbors to develop around us, and so we're at that point now.
So it's when's the critical mass? When it's completely built out?
No, we like to think around 70% done, 50%. We need to at least have the streets next to the park. And so we have those in place. We know that's not going to change on us. Yep.
You know, we could mention, Ginny, too, on the partnerships with the schools been really critical to us. You might notice as you look around the community that a lot of our parks are located near schools. And like in this case, and Craig can speak to it, but by partnering with the high school being built, we were able to get tennis courts in there and a ball field and roads and other infrastructure that we shared costs on, so it keeps the overall cost down.
Oh, that's nice. Costs all the way across the board, building and...
Well, some of it's just shared things that we'll share, like entry roads, parking. They had a need for some tennis courts, as we did. So it's those kind of things. Wherever we can share, we just try to work it out.
That makes sense, rather than have everybody building same things
twice, right?
Somewhere around the way. So I'm also curious in the land purchase and how far out we think. Do we have other big purchases for in the future, and where are those?
Yeah, we have 2 community parks left in our system. One will be on East Horsetooth Road, just east of Ziegler.
Oh, okay.
So we're working on that purchase right now, but the park may not be ready for, say, 5 or 6 or 7 years. And then up northeast, we have a site next to the high school site where Timberline runs into Mountain Vista.
Okay.
We want to be right next to them, so we're talking about that land purchase also. that may be it will be our last community park, but that's 2025, 2024. So
Way
again,
out
we're
there.
getting right when people want to develop their property. At the very beginning of that gives us a great place to get our land
So our park development basically follows
growth.
the growth of the
Yep.
community as it
Yeah.
goes around.
Yep.
Oh, that's good. Well, okay, so today in our next one, you mentioned Fossil Ridge. Where will this park be?
So if you're out in that part of town, take Ziegler Road, come down to Kechter. There's a roundabout there, and the park sits in that corner just south of
Okay.
Fossil Ridge High School, over to Lady Moon Drive, and that's our kind of our east boundary.
How many acres?
54 acres.
54. I'm not good at
Yep.
kind of visualizing that. Sounds like a lot.
It is a nice size, really.
Yeah.
For that part of town where we have about half of a normal population there because some of the old county folks came in, didn't pay fees, and some that's in natural areas out there. And
Okay.
so it
yeah.
matches the fees match the land and the cost.
Right. So, okay, so you think way ahead, you're smart, you buy this property, we partner where we can, it gets close to build out, and now it's time.
Yep.
So now what happens?
So we go out in 2013. We went out and met the neighbors basically, and had a meeting. We have a design team that we hired, and so the first meeting was in midsummer. Just here we are. Here's what we do, which we think might fit on the site. Asked the neighbors put some dots. What do you think is most important to you? And the design team takes that back and basically kind of digests it. And then our second meeting is a really important one. That's where the design team goes, well, let's put some ball fields here and a soccer field here and a dog park over there and a playground here. And then they will come in and set that aside and do it again, but flipping things around a bit.
Oh, okay.
So we had at the second meeting 3 of those on the tables, and folks could go out and write their comments on them. And I like this one, but could you move the dog park over here? Whatever. And so that really gets us into what the neighbors think about. We always try to get something special in each park. So we're still, looking at a really nice playground out here, maybe some signature feature like we have at Spring Canyon and Fossil Creek with the mammoth and some of that.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's where we're at right now. We took all that input together, came back to our last public meeting in December and said, here's where we think the master plan of the park is. And each of those meetings we had maybe 60 to 80 people at the first one, 60 or so for the second, 50 or so for the third. That's a nice turnout. People are
is.
busy.
Are people pretty excited?
Yes, it is. It's like, when are you going to make it? Because my child is 8, will be there every time he's 20. So all of that because
We want a playground.
Yeah, yeah. So very
Well,
nice.
so what rose to the surface as being some real desired amenities here?
It's always a combination of the active and passive recreation, I'll call it that way. So the walking paths that go around the park, it's already used for some cross-country events at the high school.
Okay.
And then the playgrounds are always very important. We talk about a splash park being in there.
Oh.
And the dog park is always nice because so many folks, it's a small yard nowadays.
Yep.
The dog park is very important. We have a creek running through the site. If we want to improve that, it's got just kind of vertical banks on it. We'll lay those back, get some wetlands established, do some nice, more native type grasses around it. Still do our ball fields and our turf field that we need for all the soccer players and all the baseball players. They have to be in there someplace. A nice big picnic shelter that people can rent and reserve and have their big events out there. Right now, those folks drive to other community parks for those kind of activities.
Right. So when you, I'm sure people are excited, and it's nice to have a variety of amenities in there. It seems like, we have trends as we go. Like now we'll probably always have dog parks
Yes.
and community parks.
Yeah.
And potentially the water features too, whether they're existing or splash parks that are put in, because so popular. With the actual regulation turf kind of fields, is that neighborhood driven, or does that kind of turn over to recreation needs and the number of teams and maybe even high schools, junior highs that have that need in town?
Yeah, we can both speak to this. The schools tend to take care of a lot of their own needs with their
Okay.
own fields. Of course, we work with them on that, but we have leagues, and then we have large clubs in town. So there's sort of nonprofits like Fort Collins Baseball, Fort Collins Soccer,
Right.
and they're huge. And then we have what's interesting is that there's a lot of new turf sports that people are interested in, like rugby,
Lacrosse.
and lacrosse is bigger, and some of the smaller sports are growing. So the demand for turf fields, and then there's ball fields. Turf fields are the grass fields.
Okay,
Ball fields have the you know, they're just not all turf. So they have the backstops and that for, you know, basically for ball games, softball and baseball. But anyway, you know, we look at what's the demand. We check in with the clubs. We look at, we have a huge scheduling team, you know, that every year in January, everybody comes in and says, here's what we need for games, here's what we need for practices. And we go
Glad
through
that's
a
not my job.
major effort to say, here's everything that's available. And, you know, part of the issue is that people like to engage in those sports typically at the same time. You
Right.
know, it's after school. It's particularly in this, you know, in the warm weather months. And so there is a large demand for fields. And we just try to take that all into account without overloading the park and still having a balanced park with passive and active recreation.
But with the new community park coming on and new ball fields and turf fields, they'll be programmed. I mean, that'll be a benefit, right? And
Yeah.
help relieve some of the pressure.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because part of what's happening is that when you have new development, new housing in town, you have more people.
And
you
more
know?
teams.
Yeah, more teams. And so you just have to have more fields. Otherwise, the ones that are already kind of overloaded get more overloaded. And then, you know, after a while, kids can't play because you say, well, we can't form any more teams in that league. We don't have a place to go.
Right.
So, you know, we don't want that to happen.
Right.
That's one issue with this park is that we really had a need to light some fields because we haven't had a new lit ball field in quite some time. And so our recreation staff actually went to these open houses and made the case for the lit fields. And, you know, most of the folks that were at the open houses understood the need and didn't really seem to mind too much.
That's good. Is there, I assume with siding and new lighting, and obviously those are really bright lights, but a lot can be done to mitigate.
Yeah, the lighting's gotten a lot better over the years.
Yeah,
but
they're all computerized and they have big shades on them. And when we did Foster Creek Community Park, we would stand in people's backyards and a guy up the pole, and we'd say, "Can you lower that shade?" Just and there would be.
Oh, wow.
We'd have the steal the light we need on the field, and it wouldn't be seeing from the neighbors. So, and that technology is 10 years old, and so now it's even more sophisticated and
Yeah.
very well done.
Oh, okay. So are you at final design, or is there still some?
This is the final master plan, and we're telling people we can tweak a bit. But we
Okay.
really had, you know, the meeting, the third meeting was when people showed up and we said, this is what we've got. We had good consensus at that meeting. Everyone thought we did a good job on that with the design team. So we're open eyes to a little tweaking here and there, but we're pretty much done.
Well, that's exciting. What have you decided then on the sort of signature feature you mentioned at, I'm going to get my names wrong, where's the Mammoth?
Mammoth is at Foster Creek Community Park.
Fossil Creek Community
People.
Park. And then Spring Canyon
Has
has
the
the
Sleeping
Sleeping
Giant.
Giant,
Yep.
which is awesome.
So we've got this bar sitting right here. We got to go above it now.
Yeah, I know.
So we're working through some ideas, you know,
Okay.
to make a signature playground piece because it's so important for families and the little guys out there. This is what they remember as part of their life.
Yeah.
And then eventually they'll move into different things. But when at that age group, this is the kick. This is the thing we want to get right.
To make something happen there.
Yep.
Do parks, we do so much amazing work in all of our public spaces. Are those considered like an art and public places piece, or do you have to include an?
We always include art in public places, the
You do, okay.
1% of the budget. And I tell folks in the Art and Public Places Board, we just truly enjoy their program because they add so much to our park system, even the trail system. So probably not in the main playground itself, but someplace in the park. We'll put those ideas in, and already the artist is on our team.
What are some examples now of in existing community parks?
On APP, to think. Spring Canyon, if you go out on the west side, there's a mountain lion carved in a tree,
Oh,
and there's some
I have seen a picture of that.
Yep, and there's some rocks that have been split open like they were agates, and those are what the artist put together.
Oh, okay.
So on Foster Creek, I can't remember if that was in place at that time or not. It may not quite have.
Yeah, I think the program was in place.
Yeah, we did.
I don't know if the Mammoth was part of that, but I think what it was is we have these stone kind of monoliths.
Yes,
that,
they were in the lake.
Are in the lake.
That was what the artist
okay.
did.
Yeah, those are kind of
Yeah.
expensive too, but they're pretty cool.
But yeah, they really add so much character to the park and a little pizzazz, a little
Right.
interest. Yeah, so we always like those.
So what
Okay.
What happens next?
Okay, we spend all of 2014 basically designing the park. So this is the details. This is right down
Yeah.
into the bench looks like this and the concrete looks like that.
Okay.
So we'll make a set of construction drawings, probably about 1.5 inches thick
Wow.
by this size. We'll make a specification book about that thick. And then as we come around to 2015, we want to hit it just right to bid it probably towards the spring of 15, early summer. Take about 1.5 years to build it. So we want to go into 16 then with into the fall having the park pretty well looking pretty good, but the grass is not in yet. If we guys grow the grass, we don't sod the park. We can't
Oh,
afford
really?
that. Yep.
Why is that? Is it just
Can't afford
better?
it. Can't afford it.
It's a lot of sod.
Yeah, it's a lot of sod. So,
Okay.
Plus we use some different mixes.
yeah.
too.
So we have the soft opening basically in the fall of 16. And then in 17, as people say, it's not a park until the grass is in. So
Yeah,
in 17,
okay.
we have a great grand opening and we should have good grass and everything ready to go.
That's exciting. Wow. I mean, these parks, they're like a 20-year process from teeny idea to kids playing soccer.
And we're
Yep.
just all the time watching new trends, new things happening. What can we put in this park that wouldn't have been something we might have put, say, 10 years ago? So dog parks are obviously one of those things that came in.
Yep.
This park won't have a skate park, but we're putting those around.
ask,
Probably the
skate park.
northeast will have a big skate park. We have 4 skate parks. That's a good service level for us right now.
Okay.
And Foster Creek is fairly close to where this one's at for skaters.
We are going to have a BMX track, though.
Yep, the BMX is there staying.
Oh, in this new park?
It's there right now. We're going to move it kind of to the northwest corner. And that's a great facility out there.
Is this the one that moved from kind of where by Epic and it
Yep.
got relocated out there?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So we didn't know if where we put it was going to end up the right location for it, but the intent was to have it in the park. Turns out we got to move a little bit, but it's not too hard. It's mostly just dirt. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So that's a nice feature this park will have that some other parks won't have.
That's exciting. We kind of do that amongst the parks too, because I mean that's kind of a special interest group. They
Right.
probably don't all live in that
Yep.
neighborhood. They'll be traveling to
Yeah.
take advantage of that. It seems like we also have an emphasis on doing, and I think you called it active and passive, but also areas that will maybe not be as mowed or as kept. Or
Yeah. That's something that we started doing with Foster Creek, and we've done it with the neighborhood park. And the Spring Canyon is a really good example. The walls out there have the native grasses and
Yeah.
shrubs and things. So what that brings is a really nice character piece to the park where people go, that's a different looking environment. And if you want to go over there and look for bugs and insects and things, there you go. So blending that with what we need for the manicured turf, we have to always have that. Down around the creek where we have the wetlands and transition to these, that's really special, correct, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sustainable.
Sustainable. Good answer. What, any predictions on future parks? Trend or?
I think what we're finding out, Recreation's doing a big study right now in terms of their whole program. Fort Collins and Colorado is still very, very active on active sports, still growing. A lot of the country's kind of gone flat, and people are a bit surprised by that. But with such a community that likes outdoors, activities, things happening, that will probably continue. So when we go look at the Northeast Community Park, we're going to buy some extra land up there, set it aside for that one thing that may come in.
Whatever it
Can't
might
buy more
be.
land at some point. So,
Right.
but yeah, it's pleasing to see folks want to get outside and do things.
That's really true. I mean, especially here. Well, this is exciting. Marty, how about you? Any trends in park policy, or Craig mentioned the recreation as we slowly start to build out? I feel like, and I think I said this once, Craig, you've been with the city
28 years.
28 years. That's awesome. Kind of working yourself out of a job with our
Yep.
growth
It
management.
will end
right?
at some point.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why Craig's retiring in 3 months. So.
Get out early before the rest
yeah,
of the people go
before
out.
it's over. But
Congratulations. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, really, the park system. We have neighborhood parks to build out as well,
Okay,
and
yep.
so, but you know, the city's growth boundaries are pretty well set, and so our planning is based on that plan. So if that was to ever change, then more parks would be added because there would be additional development. But you know, based on what we know, we've got 2 community parks to go and more than a handful of neighborhood parks. But Craig's staff also builds a trail system. And we've got a lot of trail system to build.
Right.
So that's a big effort that they're engaged in as well. And then on the recreation side, you know, we're always trying to pay attention to the trends. So what's uniquely Fort Collins? Who are we as a community? What are our interests? What's our demographic makeup? How is that changing? You know, some major trends that we're seeing now is that the 60 plus population, the 65 plus population is growing rapidly as the baby boomers age into those years. So that's something where we're expanding our senior center right now with a $7 million expansion. Part of that is to address what we see as this big growing need. So we're paying attention to that. Just trying to understand what are young people interested in doing, you know, because the generations are different in their interests. You know,
Right.
you might think the kids just want to, you know, play video games, but they're actually very active and wanting to be out in the
Our
parks.
parks get how many visits?
Yeah, millions. You know, so with festivals, I mean, one thing Craig and I would love to have accomplished, we haven't been able to yet, would be a large special event venue somewhere. You know, especially if we could do it near the downtown, be awesome. But you know, that doesn't fit into this sort of impact fee way of developing parks, because when you go that route, you really need to provide a multifunctional park,
Yeah,
you know,
that
for
makes
the
sense.
area that it serves. But so that's something that we're working on and we'd like to accomplish. And, you know, the downtown and the river is a big focus right now. You know, Craig and his staff have been involved in that. So got a lot of interesting planning going on down there.
What fun.
Yeah,
Gosh.
it's good stuff. So,
No.
yes,
I have
yeah, go ahead.
one last question I thought of, because last year we added community gardens.
Yes.
So were those in community parks, or those were more in neighborhood parks?
We started with the 4 in the neighborhood park,
Okay.
and one's actually in Eudora Park, so we have one in a community park. And this park design, we include a space for community gardens.
Oh, okay, good.
And so that's nice. That's something you wouldn't have found in the system 10, 15
Not one in
years
City
ago.
Park, right?
Yep.
Right.
100. How old did City Park turn? 100? 150?
Yeah, it was 102 years ago, I think.
100, yeah. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, right. I know. I mean, 100 years when you look around the world, it's not that long, but around here, it's a long time, you know?
Exactly. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I know. Well, thank you both so much. Really exciting. Reminds me I need to get out and see some of these park features I haven't seen.
Yeah, get on your
so-
bike.
Exactly. It's that time of year. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks,
Appreciate
Jenny.
it.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us. Go check out your community and your neighborhood parks.